Welcome to Road to Billions podcast, the mentality of an entrepreneur. With your host, Moise Bertrand.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It is your host, Moise Bertrand, the Road to Billions podcast. It's been an amazing journey, you guys, and I appreciate every last one of you guys who's been listening, tuning in, of course, and just supporting the podcast from day one. You know, I definitely appreciate everybody. I know who you guys are. If I don't know who you are, but you've been supporting me, man, shout out to you, and I appreciate you. You know, definitely, I just can't give everybody their flowers. But, today's podcast, man, I'm definitely going to keep you guys in the loop about finding the right deals, making the right decisions, and just knowing how to maneuver and pivot if something goes wrong, you know, because something may go wrong, something may not go wrong. But to me, I feel like you should always be prepared, right? Just in case. Before I go into that, man, I just want to say thank you guys to everybody who's been listening. You know, as you guys could hear now, I have monetization ads on my podcast, man. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy because my hard work is finally catching up the perfect timing. And 3-4 years of just grinding. I know I may not have been the most consistent or most what's the word for it? I haven't really overflowed my podcast with a lot of episodes. But I feel like for those who listen, man, I feel like I have a good group of, fans and, supporters and just people who just love to hear me talk, let alone love to learn. And for you guys, that's why I put this podcast out here and these episodes, just to make sure you guys are getting the information. Because most of the time you guys going to get charged or ran off on. People going to scam your ass if you're really trying to learn this real estate. But too much of that, we're going to put it away. We're going to go right into the money. So if you guys have a chance, I need you guys to grab a notepad, pen and paper, of course, or even just use your phone as some notes. But I just like really physically writing things down. If you ever met me in person or you ever get a chance to run across me, I always have a few notebooks, and I probably ran through like 15 notebooks, and I keep like papers everywhere, and things are stapled and things are organized. I'm a very great organizer, but I have to write things down because writing things down allows you to remember it, and it actually allows it to actualize, and for some reason people don't believe in that, but the minute you write it down, man, you already got the first step out the way, and I believe it's 3 steps: writing it down, believing in it, and then actually putting the action behind it. And then eventually the 4th step is just what you're going to spend your money on. So that's the 4th step, how you're going to save your money and not spend all of it after you do everything right. But pretty much, man, I just want to give you guys a little info and a little, gems about finding deals and finding the right deal, making the right decision, and of course, if something goes wrong. So whenever I'm going to buy a house, man, first and foremost, I do a few things, right? I don't go and jump on the first house that I see that's available or that's being offered to me for a good price. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the house, but I do feel like sometimes good deals are passed up because everybody ran through the numbers already. But I'm not saying that every deal that get passed up is a bad deal, because I bought houses in the past where it's been on the market for like 6-7 months, and I'm like, you know what, well, I don't got nothing else going on. Let me take a chance on this. This is real life. Like, let me take a 6-figure chance, $100,000 chance. And a lot of people can't endure that. A lot of people can't stomach that. And I try to not think too much about it, because I know at the end of the day, if you're running the metrics right about what I'm about to tell you guys and follow the same formula over and over and over again, you will not fail. And I try to tell that to the mentees of mine. I try to tell that to anybody who run across me in real estate, to be like, how do you keep going? How do you keep buying houses? And it's not easy, but this is the blueprint, you guys, the BRRRR, right? Whenever I'm buying a house, man, I check the area, which is the ARV, after repair value, of the comparables in the area. Because you could have a house, and this happened to me in the past too, because I almost got, and I'm telling you guys this because I don't need you running into this. You will have a realtor who's really professional, and they're known to work with investors. But just like a realtor is like an investor, we wait until things start popping off. That's when things start getting paid out. They went on their commission when the deal gets closed. Investors, usually when they refinance a house, have a tenant paying bills finally, or even selling a house. That's when the real profit comes, right? So what happens when a realtor hasn't had no inventory that's been new in the last couple months, couple days, couple weeks? What do you think they're going to do? They're going to go ahead and blast it out to the investors again. They're going to tell all their investors, hey, this is a really great deal. They may even tell the owner, hey, I need you to go ahead and take some better pictures and stuff because I need to make some money, right? And I feel like this deal, quote unquote, can make you some money as well. And they'll persuade you as an investor to make you feel like you're making the wrong decision. Hey, in the next 2 to 3 years, this area is going to be popping, right? So if you don't grab this, I don't need you coming back to me saying I didn't give you the right deal, or, I don't need you not be able to get in when, where you could fit in. And you'll sit there and you'll think about that. You'll be like, man, this realtor is really trying to help me. In reality, that's not the case. The case is this realtor trying to make a quick buck off you, and you don't know a dummy till you try one. You don't know a duck till you try one. So I sit around and I watch these realtors, and I watch how they work on their lives. What do they do if deals are going slow? Do they jump ship, or do they go do another career? Do they find more investors, or do they go really hit the floor running, looking for houses to sell, right? Because a good realtor is never going to stop at what the broker gives them. A good realtor is going to go and check the MLS, off-market deals, and then they're going to report it back to the investors. It's just up to you as an investor to make the right decision. I'm not saying that realtors are here to get over on people. All I'm saying is they're here just like you're here to make money, right? So they may not know how you run the metrics, right? They may not know the back end of how you flip houses or the bird. They probably going to tell you straight up, I don't know how these niggas do it. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know how these dudes do it. You feel me? But they'll tell you straight up, hey, I think this is a good deal, right? And sometimes it could, sometimes it couldn't be. But I tell people you want to check the after repair value of the home itself, meaning after you fix it up, what is it going to be worth? And then you want to go ahead and check the comparables in the area. What are the comparables in the area? Meaning, what are the next houses that are in a radius of 1 to 2 miles of this house that has the same similar square footage, room and bath? And of course, what they're priced at. If they ever got sold, how long were they on the market? Did they make any additions, upgrades to their home, and what is it worth now? Once you start realizing, okay, this house is worth $300,000 after I fix it up because I'm buying it for, let's say some bullshit numbers, $100,000. Now you go ahead and realize, okay, the area is giving me the average of $350,000, $450,000, even $500,000 for houses after it's fixed up or what they're currently being sold in the last 6 months. So you're going to take that as an investor and you're going to run with it, right? Because at that point, you found you a good deal, and you have at least $200,000 in equity, right? As a spread is going to be worth $300,000. No matter how much you put into it, you have a good spread, right? And I try to tell people this is where a lot of investors fuck up on, because they'll be like, oh, wow, that house is going to be worth $300,000, $350,000, $400,000. But you have to realize your budget as well. You have to realize your cost, your rehab costs, your rehab time. And a lot of investors, including myself, we fell victim to past workmanship that was bad. Bad workmanship, bad communication, and, therefore you probably overspent on your budget or even underspent your budget. And when you undercut your budget, you kind of shooting yourself in the foot because now you just devalued your home. If you over budget, you overcompensated by how much you actually are making. So you're lying to yourself because now your all-in price is probably a lot higher than you anticipated. And if you have a rehab loan, you also have to take account of what is going to be the overall loan in, right? What is going to be the overall loan? So how much you took out for the rehab, how much you took out for the loan itself, you add that in, that's your whole overall loan balance, right? You got to make sure that's able to be paid off after you repair the house through the appraisal. A lot of people, they forget this step because they're thinking that the house is automatically going to be worth $300,000. And there was some cases where I bought a house, man, and luckily I was able to go back to the appraisal and make the right adjustments. But it was houses in the past where I was like, I know this shit going to be worth XYZ. I know it's going to be worth XYZ. And when I get the appraisal back, I'm devastated. I'm hurt. I'm sick. Because not only am I not getting the money I thought I was going to get, but also in some cases, you may not get shit, right? You may not get $1. And a lot of people fall victim to what realtors are telling them, what their contractor telling them is going to be a real rehab budget. And I sit here and I tell you guys, you have to look at everything pretty much like you were living in a house. You have to be able to put yourself in the shoes of a tenant of yourself. Yes, you're an investor and you're investing in this home, meaning this house has to be as comfortable as it is for you. or for your family. And if you wouldn't stay in it, you should invest in it. If you wouldn't want to live in something after you fix it up, you didn't do too much of a good job in it, right? So I try to tell people, man, you want to think about what is the lenders giving you after your appraisal, after you fix it up. What's the LTV? I think I talked about that in some other episodes and stuff like that. But do listen to my other real estate episodes. But I talked a little bit about the LTV, about what that is. And once you figure that out, what they're giving you, now you kind of know your numbers, right? And I tell people you want to know these numbers ahead of time before you sign the deal. Because the minute you sign that deal, man, of buying a house, you cooked. You sent your money, you're cooked. And I'm not here to tell people like, oh, you're making the wrong decisions of, buying a house too early and not looking at everything. You're going to make some wrong decisions after you buy the house. Oh, damn, I should have never hired this guy. Oh, fuck, I should never put this color. Oh, damn, I should have put this color floor. Oh, damn, I should have. It's going to be always a thing, right? But what separates great investors from wannabe investors is great investors know this is a learning lesson. This is experience. I didn't know that cast iron needed to be changed out until our plumber said, hey, you need to change this shit out because it's going to get bad in a few years. It's going to corrode. Or they'll tell you straight up, you don't need to change it. If it don't give you no problems, you don't have to change it. And that's not the case in everybody's house. Some people get the short end of the stick. Some people never deal with it. When you're dealing with different type of homes, though, then you have to realize every house is kind of the same. But then again, you're going to deal with some different problems. Well, let me say that again. Every house is the same, but then you're going to deal with different problems, right? One house may have horrible electrical, but the plumbing might be immaculate, or both may not have no problems. It may just be wood and rot, wood rot and subfloors and, water damage and everything like that from the previous pipe that was busted. But obviously this pipe is good now. So you're going to still have some problems, right? Drywall, the studs might need to get replaced. The subfloor might be sinking in, So now you're thinking, okay, how much is this going to cost? Because now I don't have to take care of the plumbing and electrical, but I know subfloor and foundation ain't too cheap. Let me think again. Now you're thinking about how much extensive damage actually took place when the water bust, when the water leak took place in the home. Is it real bad? Is it mediocre bad? Did it mess up the insulation? Is it mold growing anywhere? How is everything moving around, right? You want to be a detective. And the same way you will move into your house, an apartment you were leasing in, and you look and you check, you doing the whole checklist. You do the same shit when you're buying a house, man. Same exact process. And I tell people, like, when you buy the house, you know what you're getting yourself into, whether it's good or bad, right? I will hope you get into something that's good. But let's just say after a while, you done ran through your scope of work because you took care of the things you need to take care of. You walked through the house. You knew it needed some cosmetics, a little bit of plumbing here, new roof, HVAC. Okay, it's the same step in every house. Now you're at the closing table when it's time to go ahead and refinance. When you refinance, you go into a 30-year loan, right? Because they're going to be like, okay, you had a 1-year loan with us. We're going to go ahead and give you a 30-year loan. And typically, those loans are only LLC-based loans that is going to be called a DSCR loan. And that's primarily based off the monthly income and rental income of the home. And lenders have a ratio of how they go about it, like a certain percentage and all this bullshit that they try to, not give you no money. They always be like, oh, no, your shit back. I'm like, man, just give me goddamn money. You feel me? So that's a whole program that they do, which is still cool. It kind of saves you a lot of time because traditional financing is a lot harder to get since you're not having it in your primary name. So you have no choice but to go through the non-QM, which is non-qualified mortgage. It's just pretty much hard money and, investor-friendly mortgages. But when you have a house now that you refinance, you could either have a tenant, which they would prefer before you even refinance when you do the appraisal. But let's just say you have no tenant when you do the appraisal, right? You just refinance. You don't have no tenant at all. I would say at this point, if you're having a problem renting it, it's two things. For one, you're renting it too high. Because all I know is whenever you put a for rent sign in front of a house, you give it a few hours, I'm getting 10 to 15 calls a day. Hey, how when can I come look at this house? Hey, how much you rent this house for? Hey, how many 10 to 15 calls a day. And I'm like, God damn. But then what I'm telling you is that's just marketing by itself. That means it's going to sell itself. If people are asking you, hey, are you going to sell this house? How much you want to rent this house for? That's a compliment. I call it a shadow compliment. Hey, bro, I'm not going to tell you too much that you're doing your shit. Hey, bro, I ain't going to tell you too much that this shit look nice. But how much you renting it for? How much you selling it for? So that's a shadow compliment, not too much. They're not trying to give you too much limelight, which is cool. But you want to think about it then. Okay, if people are asking me how much I'm renting this house for, do I hit them across the head or do I just market rent? And that's a tricky situation because you might be able to get a little bit more for market rent depending on how much renovations you put in the home. Or you might just be stuck on just getting what you could get, because people are the consumers and you have to follow the market. You can't disrespect the market. And that's why I tell people, know your mortgage, know the market rent. And when you know those two things, you kind of can make, a difference in your life. Now, a lot of people, they have a hard time finding out whether they're going to put a Section 8 tenant in their home, long-term tenant, a disabled tenant, make it to a nursing home, or rent per room, pass, split, and so forth, so forth. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about everything and Airbnb as well. Section 8 tenants, you're going to have the good and the bad with them. I have a Section 8 tenant now. She's a great person. I had a few in the past, great people. But then you have a few, 2, 3 rotten apples that come in and they want to be like hell. Like they give you hell. And then you realize, is it worth it? You ask yourself, do I want to continue working with Section 8? But that's the first experience you have because that won't be the last, But then again, you have to ask yourself, do you want to take the good with the bad? Because at the end of the day, you can have a long-term tenant and they could still give you the same shit or even worse, right? Because I had a tenant and she moved out in the middle of the night because she didn't want to pay the rent no more that she felt like was too high. But she's been paying it for 2 years, which is crazy, you guys, right? She's been paying the rent for 2 years. She moved out abruptly without telling anybody. And like I said, this could have been anybody else. Anybody else could have did this to us, All I'm saying is when you're renting out to anybody, you got to be okay with running into some issues. Not everybody's going to be a perfect tenant. Not everybody's going to communicate. That tenant right there, she never even spoke to us on the phone. It's always email. She never wanted to speak to us on the phone. We was like, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you act like this? And we have to realize, this is just you as a person. We can't get mad at you. This is literally you. But then again, we ask ourselves, do we want to work with these type of people? So then we go on to the next group of people we could work with. And that's either disabled veterans, which they're paying between $1,000 to $1,400 per room for. And then you deal with the government. But then that's tricky as well because you may already have, let's just say, put all your money into the house. But then when they send the veterans out there, the inspectors, to make sure the house is in, good condition, all that good stuff is up to code, they might start telling you different shit. Oh, you can't have this light here. Oh, you got to make sure the AC is, you got to have this on. You got to patch this. You got to do this. These are things that you may have not needed to do if you were selling the house because that's a different type of lingo that they're doing, right? This is the government that you're working with now at this point. And they have to make sure people who are living in the homes that they approve is taken care of, right? Because they have family, they have vouchers, and they don't want anybody getting fucked over, which is real. We could keep it real. But then again, I try to tell people, listen, man, you want to be the best person that you could be, not only for yourself, but for your tenant. And you're only going to get to know your tenant through communication. You're only going to get better as an investor through workmanship, through experience. So when you're talking to inspectors, they'll tell you straight up, they'll be like, hey, man, I think you should just go ahead and rent it out to a regular tenant because by the time we're finished with this inspection, man, it's going to take another 3-4 weeks to get you approved. And, you may not get paid for another 2-3 months, right? I have a few buddies of mine, they're renting out right now, trying to work with the VA, and they're having a tough problem because, it's governmental shutdown. And the VA is telling them, hey, listen, you can still put your application in, but we're not accepting any applications right now. Everything is pending. And once the government get back up, we have to backtrack everybody who didn't get paid, and we have to go ahead and give them first serve, first come, first serve basis, because they put the application in last month. I believe the government shutdown took place, we're on week 3 or week 2 now, some shit. So it's been affecting a lot of people. Even though we don't physically see it, people are physically and financially feeling it, right? Let alone Section 8, 10, and 2 are still responsible for this, because it creates a hostile environment when the landlord is asking the Section 8 tenant, hey, when is the voucher going to pay? And they don't know. So then it creates a sense of like, damn, like, fuck, I don't want to work with Section 8 because now I got to wait on the government and they're not paying. So you might be losing 2, 3, 4 months of rent knowing that you have to pay that mortgage. And that's one of the worst feelings in the world, taking care of your own mortgage, when the whole point of this game is having somebody else take care of your mortgage for you, right? So when I tell people if the VA doesn't work for you, because right now it's kind of a tough time to get people going, Airbnb is the best thing, right? And I don't think Airbnb actually ever failed anybody. I think it's more so the hospitality that fails, right? Because Airbnb gives everybody an opportunity to make money, but it's how you present yourself to the client that's going to allow people to rate you and continue to do business with you if they want to continue to book your spot. And a lot of people don't think about that. I'm like, you ever looked at a hotel and see how it's people coming in and out, in and out, in and out? But they have to make sure they have a whole system set in place. So when they come out, you already got the cleaners and coming right in, boom, 10, 20, 30 minutes later. You know why? Because they know that is a system and it has to flow. And if one room doesn't get cleaned up, you can't rent that room out. That money is stopped. It's non-occupied. The hotel is losing $1,000 because they're still paying cleaners. The cleaners didn't get to that spot yet, let alone that room is just sitting there empty when they could have rented out again at 3 o'clock. They have check-in at 3, and then, you check it out 11 o'clock in the morning. You have another check-in at 3 o'clock. So it's like that the hotel has to stay on this consistent basis of marketing and keeping itself occupied with residents. And Airbnb is the same thing as the hospitality business. So you got to have fresh linen sets. You have to make sure you have a washing machine in there. You have to make sure you have a good cleanup crew. You have to make sure you're in distance of this B&B. You have to make sure you have people who are able to work on your behalf if you're not able to get to the property. You have to make sure this property is ably accessible to those who want to get in, because the name of the game is accessibility, and you want everybody who lives in your home to have the access to feeling like it's a real home, the comfortability of saying, I will book this B&B again, or I could see myself staying here for another 2, 3 years in this lease. You know what I mean? That's the type of conversations you want to have with everybody. And if you can't have those conversations, you really have yourself in a tough situation. If you're not getting these informations from your clients, from your tenants, you're not hearing feedback from people saying they want to renew. These are all bad indications of saying, hey, listen, I'm not saying the house is bad, but I'm just saying you got to low-key make some adjustments, right? And it may not even be you. It may just be the tenant. Like I said, it's just how you feel about the situation, how you read the situation. And we all go through it, man. We go through tenants tearing up the house. We go through people vandalizing the house. We go through people squatting. We go through people trying to rip off prices and charge a little bit extra than that they needed. And we just understand that a lot of people, they just want to be seen, man. They want to be heard. They want to be felt. And the same way I live in my spot, wanting my leasing office to come to my assistance when I need something, I say you want to do the same thing when it comes to your tenant, right? Don't let them sit down and be in a situation where they don't know shit about what's going on. They don't know how they're going to get themselves out of this situation. They don't know how they're going to get themselves into another spot if they leave your spot. You want them to not even think about these things. You want them to be talking to you saying, hey, I love this house. Can you renew my lease again? I'm okay with paying a little bit extra next year. You want these conversations. You want conversations where you're seeing on your B&B platform that people are leaving great reviews. You want to be able to work with the VA to the point where they're reaching out to you saying, hey, do you have any more rental properties? Because we would love to fill your houses up. These are the positive things that can happen. But on the negative side, you have things you're responsible for, people's lives, the livelihood, the way the house is kept up, how your reputation is in real estate. Do you have good tenants? Do you have tenants that say good things about you? Do you have tenants say bad shit about you? Do you have a house that's known to be causing problems all the time? Or do you have homes that soon you fix it up, it ain't no more problems? You don't really know, man. You got to figure out what is you. Who are you? And, it's a process, it's a journey, it's a beautiful journey, it's a beautiful experience because not everybody gets to embrace it, not everybody gets to experience it. But I try to tell people, man, I will hope that one day everybody on this podcast is able to afford a home and flip it. Because I was having this conversation with somebody, I was like, man, nowadays people are okay with going on vacations, but people not really having like that for real. Like it's okay to go on vacations, but when you come back home, are you stressing? You have to wake up back in the morning to go back to your job every day that you hate. When in reality, you could have just sat down for a year and say, fuck it, I'm finna grind. I'm finna put this money in real estate. I'm finna do what I gotta do. And I'm finna run it up. And I'm finna do what I gotta do to take myself out of the situation I'm in. You have to do that sometimes. You have to sit down and look yourself in the mirror and be like, I need to do better. I need to do better for myself. I want to do better. So then I tell people all the time, man, it's not about what you want to do. It's about how you do things. It's about how you move forward after you face adversity. It's about what happens if somebody steals all your materials. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with your house being vacant for 2-3 months? No one's reaching out to you to rent it out. You got to deal with these things, man. These things come with the game. But what I tell people is if you stick it out long enough, you'll win. And the game is meant to be won. The game isn't meant to be won quickly. It's a war. It's a game. Points count. Points have to be added up. And eventually, you see what the score is. You tally it up. And if you have more L's and W's, that doesn't mean you're not going to win the game. That's like a boxing match. You could probably get beat 5-6 rows in the match, 5-6 rounds in a row. But one knockout, you don't won. You literally beat him by a knockout because you didn't give up. Even though everybody was like, ooh, damn, shit not looking too good for you. Ooh, damn, boom, uppercut, gone. He out of here. You don't won. You literally won. You got to fight to the end, man. And when I tell people flipping houses is not as simple as reading a book. There's a chemistry to it. There's a science to it. It's a clear enigma code to it. And that's just understanding what the environment is asking for. I'm not going to go to the damn hood and build a $500,000 luxury home. Why would I do that? It's not asking for it. But I could go to the hood and just renovate one of those homes, keep it in the same condition that it was in, just give it a little nice paint job, fix everything up internally, mechanicals. And then, why we reinvent the wheel? It's already there. Why put more money into something that's already structurally sound? Right? We want to think about these things. We want to see these things for ourselves. We want to keep these things to ourselves, right? Not selling, not being so quick to just put so much money in the property or, just trying to reinvent something that wasn't meant for it. So I try to tell people, man, even though you do real estate, keep your knowledge, always fresh and everything. Because, I'm always buying books on real estate, Bigger Pockets. I love reading all their books, by Jay Scott, Brandon Turner as well, and just other books, man, just really imputing that knowledge in my brain and etching the information, really beating in my brain. So when people are like, oh, how you know so much shit? Well, first off, I read and I go tell you guys about it. So it allows me to remember. But then I watch YouTube and then I write it down. And then I go to the actual field of my houses and then I work. And then I talk to contractors and I talk to plumbers and I talk to electricians and I talk to handyman. Then I talk to drywall and I talk to painters and I talk to lenders and I talk to realtors and I talk to lawyers. So I have an array of people I talk to, right? And I'm getting information from everybody. Oh, picking information here, picking your brain here. Oh, I'm still that information. So now I have a good amount of knowledge in this bank of mine. So the only thing I try to tell people is don't be afraid to make that first step into real estate. Anything you do is going to be afraid. You're going to be scared to do it. When I first started boxing, I was scared of shit, man. I was like, damn, I got to get in the ring and fight. But I was too scared to tell people I was scared. And that's what made me get in the ring. You want me to say, oh, no, I don't want to get in the ring. What the fuck you throwing your hands for? You can't be shadow boxing all day just throwing your hands in front of you. You got to really put that shit to test. How are you going to react when somebody punch you? How are you going to react when you punch somebody? Are you just going to watch and sit? or you're just going to keep going, right? So the same thing boxing tells you is you want to keep your mentality strong, keep your physical approach, strengthen your foundation, have it strong, and just have your mental in the right places. Because without anything else going on in the world, you want to make sure that your faith is in knowing that you're going to accomplish whatever you put your mind to. And if you don't have that faith that whatever you pursuing is going to work out, my God, you're already lost. But I don't create losers. I don't hang with losers. I will never be a loser. I've always been a winner from day one, right? So I try to tell people, man, the information I'm giving to you guys is not something that you're going to take and learn all in one day. It's not something that you're going to take and be able to make $1 million from it. But this is the foundational information that I have and that I run by and that I always, abide by. Everything I told you guys is what I think like. This is the questions I ask myself. These are the scenarios I run through. But you won't know these scenarios until you're in these shits. You get me? Because I've been in a lot of scenarios that I'm like, fuck, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to get out of this shit. And Lord and behold, God comes to my rescue every time. So like I tell you guys again, man, just listen to all my episodes, rate, review it. If you have any questions, man, DM me. I hate when people be commenting on influencers' page saying BluePrint. The fuck you commenting on people's page? They got 200, 300, 400,000 followers. You commenting BluePrint in this motherfucking comments, and then they gonna say check DM, and they gonna send you a fucking mentorship for $3,500, $4,000, $2,500, and you ain't gonna learn a goddamn thing. You're gonna be sitting around here watching courses all day, not knowing how to fucking buy a house. I seen it, I hear about it, and I laugh about it because I'm like, you spent $2,500 on that when you could just bought 10 books, and tell me, hey Mo, I'll shoot you some. Yeah, if I can ride along, and I'm like, let's do it. I'm about that bag still. I'm not gonna tell you, oh no, you can come ride with me for free. Because at the end of the day, like if you're gonna pay for the knowledge, I'm gonna give you everything. But knowledge ain't free. You get me? So I appreciate you guys for listening to Road to Business podcast. I know this podcast was a little bit longer than needed, but I just really needed to get you guys this information, which I love. And, at the end of the day, man, I appreciate you guys for continuing to support me. Make sure you rate and review. And at the end of the day, man, keep God first. Thank you, guys.